Hi there, everyone. Lars here. Before we dive into this awesome episode about the 10 Commandments of Shipping, which you absolutely must adhere to if you ever wish to enter into shipping heaven, I realized I needed to get this podcast episode re-uploaded in some kind of way because it had been wiped from the internet, and this is going to be kind of important to an upcoming video. So please buckle in and enjoy as the entire harem sits back and has a whole bunch of laughs talking about the 10 Commandments of Shipping. And maybe one day I will figure out a proper background footage to go with this kind of topic other than a random tarnished blazing his way through the lands between committing mass murder. Well, with that being said, let's dive in.
And I remember telling her, I said, I guarantee you that one day Disney's going to become everything that you hate, and it's going to destroy everything that we all love. It's going to happen. It will not be a family-friendly company for much longer. And she's like, don't say that. It will never happen. Disney's so pure.
Yikes.
5 years later, I'm like, oh, Disney.
Oh, Disney.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're just a business like anything else.
Yeah.
The magic is gone.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're an adult and there's no more happiness left for you.
But here's the thing, though. I can now see the trick's fruit again. So the question is, have I become a kid again?
I was so confused as to what you were saying.
Or did they just reverse the look of the cereal? I don't know.
And you'll never have to. Don't fall asleep tonight. Unrelated.
You lost me there for a solid 10 seconds, Lars. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And then I put the pieces together. Oh, jeepers. It's 6:11 and this is Camille's Harem.
Gross.
Thank you. That voice again. Camille's Harem, a podcast by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing's an adventure, it's more fun with friends. But don't worry, because we're just as lost as you are. Tonight, my fair listeners, we will be tackling the subject of shipping. More specifically, we will be covering our 10 rules of shipping.
Hey, come here, you.
Well,
oh my gosh. Well.
And then there's Camille.
His head is gone.
We're going to get a running commentary on The Witcher as we...
I'm playing the Switcher.
The Switcher.
As we do this.
The Switcher 3.
I'm looting dead bodies. Leave me be.
Okay, well, you keep... Little do we know she's not actually playing The Witcher.
Yeah, I'm actually downtown.
Downtown just slashing strumpets.
Up people. The cops come up and like, miss, what are you doing? I'm looting dead bodies. Leave me be.
I'm looting dead bodies.
Get back into their car, just drive off.
I don't know why I can imagine Camille saying that in her best Tim Curry impersonation.
I'm looting dead bodies.
But welcome to season 3.
So
we're back
today's
at it.
episode looks like we're going to be talking about our rules for shipping.
Yeah, our 10 rules of shipping. We kind of came up with this. The 10 Commandments
upon us. Yes.
By the shipping gods.
By the shipping gods.
I guess I'll start off with the first rule, and this. Never mind. I was gonna say this rule is important, but they're all important rules. So rule number 1, chemistry is key. Rule number 1, chemistry is. Hey, I found my headphones. They're in my pocket.
He was looking for them everywhere.
I was like, where the hell are they? They were in my pocket the whole time. Rule number 1, chemistry is key. I mean, pretty obviously, if your characters don't have any chemistry, then what's the point of even shipping them in the first place?
Yeah, it's hard to put people together who are just so polarly opposite.
Oh shit.
Or just even worse. I mean, just very different people. I mean, sometimes can have chemistry, but it's how they play off of each other. If they can't play off of each other at all, I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they don't play off of each other, And this very much comes into rule number 2. Then like if they don't play off of each other, then you need to show us why they should,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Rule number 2: all ships are garbage until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. This right here is such an important one because, not everyone agrees on what ship is best. And so, you know what? Rather than slugging it out over which ship is absolute best, just accept that all ships are garbage. Enjoy your garbage, like the raccoon you are, and continue on with your life.
Filthy trash panda.
yeah, and that honestly, it comes down to the fact that like your headcanon won't be the same as other people's headcanon. And so you have to explain to us why your headcanon exists, why the things are the way they are, like what actual chemistry you see with these characters. Like, if you can't do that, then there's no point of your ship.
Yep.
It's like, and that's something that authors do consistently, is that they introduce 2 characters and then they have to prove why these 2 characters work well together, why they have chemistry. And that's exactly what you should be doing. Like, you can't expect everybody to be in the exact same mindset as you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and let's actually take this back to I think it's our very first bad fanfic here on the channel, My Bad Boy Link.
it is indeed.
The meet cute moment, and I put heavy quotations around that when Link is just all like, "Here, let me get you another shirt." Woo! Like, that is not chemistry. That is sexual assault right there. Chemistry is where, as you said before, Nate, like our first 2 rules, chemistry is key and all ships are garbage until proven otherwise, go hand in hand. If you're taking characters and putting them together who maybe they don't even have that much time together on screen or on the page or on the panel, wherever it is that you're looking at, if you don't see them often together but you still ship them, then you need to explain why you think that their personalities would go well together. Otherwise, it just sounds really far out there, and then people will treat it as being annoying.
Yeah. And even in the case of like My Bad Boy Link, it's like Link and Zelda being a ship is pretty common. And so like there's a lot of people who see it that way, but in that specific story, there's nothing between the characters. There's no chemistry. Therefore, the ship, even though it's a ship that like a lot of people have, it doesn't make sense in that situation. It really doesn't.
Camille, actually, I want to quickly ask you in terms of this.
Yes.
The show Merlin, what was your big OTP out of that? Again, I forget.
Oh, my OTP, which was like never really canon, was Merlin and Morgana.
Yeah.
Because I really liked in the earlier seasons, it actually shows like some chemistry between them, and they have like similarities where they're both magic people, and I liked just the different dynamics between them. But I knew the entire time, one, she was destined to be evil, and like whatever, that's fine. But it's like it's okay to ship something and live in the reality that that's not going to be canon, but you can still ship it. But like, is it a garbage ship? Maybe, because it wasn't a very healthy one, but now I'm sad.
Sorry for making you sad, but I just recalled like a long conversation we had a long time ago about that. I was just like, that fits in.
Yeah.
Just
where it's like it was never canon, but I feel like the show did give them enough to go off of to where it could have been a plausible canon ship. Had things been different, it could have worked.
Mm-hmm.
I really think this all ties very closely into rule number 3.
I think they all tie closely into all the rules, honestly. And that's kind of the point of why we're doing this.
All right, rule number 3. Buildup and payoff are directly related. And my gosh, yes. I really don't like it in any kind of story, whether it be fanfic or the canon of the story, when it's just all like, hey, here are 2 characters, now kiss. It's just you want to see once again why these 2 should be together. You want to see the moments that do bring them together, and that just makes that sweet moments just so much better. And yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to say on that. I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like the way I think of it is like Okay, this isn't necessarily like a good analogy, but like bear with me here. But it's like
Yes.
like stretching a rubber band. The farther you stretch it, like
Mhm.
the more it's gonna hurt when you like smack it on your friend. I don't know.
Interesting
That's
analogy.
not that's not the analogy I was quite going for, but I think
Yes, but people will definitely understand it.
yeah. So it's
But
like,
go
you know,
on, yeah.
the more you like build into this, the longer you kind of stretched out, the more satisfactory. That's not the word I'm looking for.
The better the sting.
Yeah, the better
Baby.
the sting, baby. Yeah, baby.
Better the end result.
Mhm.
Yeah. The more cathartic it's gonna be when that actually happens, because you're like, oh yes, finally.
I mean, people actually have to
harder. Yeah,
Care.
daddy.
people actually have to care about these characters for them to care about the
Yeah.
ship in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's part of that build up.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Oh, he's a big thick boy. Here's a thought. Here's a thought that, because I was reading the description along with Rule 3, and it says, I know you just want to get to the steamy wall slamming, but the more build up in a relationship, the better. Someone put they. Dumb idiot.
Nate?
That's me. I don't ever read what I write.
I did something. Hold on.
The riper the berry, the sweeter the juice.
My computer is having a full-on
Here, I got it. You
fix
stop.
it.
I will fix this. There you go.
Anywho'sin, I yes to that point where it's in that regard where it's like, yeah, if you want better payoff for sexy fun times or physical things, you want to have a good build up. But to play the devil's advocate, a relationship is way more than that. And I feel like you can have build ups and payoffs to other things in regards to a relationship.
Agreed.
So yeah. So for example, it's like
And that what you said kind of runs into a little bit with like Rule 6.
We'll get to that.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
we'll
get
get
to
to that. Or Rule 9, more specifically Rule 9. But we'll get
What were you
down
going to
to
say,
that.
Camille?
Oh, I was gonna say, I think my computer's frozen. That's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, for example, it's like oftentimes with stories, you know, I do this in some of my own stories where it's like they don't get together towards the tail end. That's what your buildup is. A lot of times that's what you see, where it's like, oh, this whole time it's like, will they, won't they? Oh baby, they finally did. That's usually like your typical buildup, but I think it's fun to explore other ways that you can have buildup, you know? So it's like in another story of mine, they actually get together within the first, within like the first 70 pages. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, well, because they're already physically intimate at this point, what other buildups do I have to have? What other, you know, tension is there? So I guess, you know, look outside the scope of like physical buildup, because you can still definitely have your characters, you know, we're not saying you have to wait until the last chapter in the last book. I'm not saying that at all. It's always like, pinpoint what that buildup is and work towards the payoff. And it doesn't always have to be a physical one.
Yeah, and actually, I want to quickly dive on it and say the same also goes for small payoffs leading up to like them getting together. Like if you have your heart set on your characters getting together at the end, give your audience some payoffs along the way. And a really great example of that is Bunny Girl Senpai.
Oh, hell yeah.
Where it's like the relationship between the two main characters, between Sakata and Mai, it has so many rewarding milestones along the way,
Right.
because there's that moment where Sakata's like, I want you to say that you love me, and he's trying to get to that point, and it's really great watching how they get to that moment. And that's just a small step along the way to their relationship. There is no big bang at the end, but rather
Right.
instead it is these smaller moments leading up to them really being boyfriend girlfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Rule 4, treat all ships. Damn it, I read that wrong. Treat all kinds of ships equally.
So this right here is a very important rule, because all kinds of ships, like, we mean that. It goes for heterosexual, homosexual, pansexual, whatever kind of sexual ships you want. You need to treat them all equally. Just because a ship is heterosexual does not mean it's better than a homosexual ship, and vice versa. Just for example, and for crying out loud, if you ship a girl with the chair that she always sits on, then fine. Remember the rules that come before this one.
And
Um,
after.
and after, but that's the thing, is that you want to treat ships and the relationship that they stand for as something that actually matters.
Right.
And so you might not agree with it, but remember that this is a potential relationship just as much as any other, and so it should be treated as such. You hate it when people rat on the romance of someone else who you might like, and you're just like, you just don't understand. But if you then turn around and start berating them for whatever other kind of ship that they have, you are essentially dishing out back what you got. And if you didn't like it, obviously they're not going to like it. This rule is essentially the golden rule of shipping.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Treat
Oh.
ships the way you want your ships to be treated.
I'm not sure how well the girl in the chair is going to work out when it comes to roll 7, but that'll come later.
That'll come later. That's the absolute extreme. Girl in the chair.
Well, okay. Real
If
quick,
it's written well enough, then sure, I guess.
Yeah,
Like-
and that's exactly what we mean. It's like, and this is how you write ships well, is that you treat each ship equally. Like, and that's kind of the very, very crux of this, is that, like, it doesn't matter what the character types are, the sexual orientation, the preference, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, no ship is immune to the rules on this list. And it's
Mhm.
like, treat them with love and care, like, just like you would with any other ship, you know. So rule number 5 is the endgame is not the ship setting sail. And what we mean by that is that, and we mean this in both extremes, like, your ship coming together doesn't have to be the end of the story, and that's not the happily ever after moment. I mean, some people do treat it that way, but it's like, it's so much more interesting to see that character dynamic grow and develop, like we see, like you had mentioned in Bunny Girl Senpai, like watching that grow and develop, or on the opposite side, like leaving it open to even be like, do they actually end up getting together? Like, that kind of stuff is a lot of fun, because it lets authors and like other shippers like actually kind of formulate their own headcanon and such. And so it's something that you need to keep in mind, is that there's a lot more than just the climax of whatever you're shooting for.
Yeah,
And
especially depending on what kind of story. If you're doing like a fantasy world where there is going to be a lot of world building, that romance is not going to be your main focus. At least it shouldn't
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And on the subject of like fantasy, I'm going to use an example right here. Like this is somewhat painful for me to use, but looking at the Inheritance Cycle, the Eragon books.
Oh, baby.
Oh baby. Oh boy, the axe I have to grind with them. Here, like, there's so much that can be said about Eragon and Arya by the end of that series. Should they have gotten together? Should they not have? Yada yada yada. Spoiler alert: they don't. But literally, the ship sets sail, which is kind of funny, because he sails on a ship to leave the continent. Not really, because he just goes to the other side. It's so weird. But one of the things is that at first, when I first read that, I was upset because my ship didn't sail at the end. Oh, how terrible. And that clouded how I viewed the ending of the series. I still think it's a garbage ending, but going back to it and trying to divorce the whole shipping aspect from what happens, I began to realize that the ending was really unsatisfactory for a number of reasons, and not just simply the ship. And had they stayed together, had Arya sailed off with Eragon into the distant horizon to be with him, it still actually would have been a bad ending, because the rest of the end game was not wrapped up in a way that was very satisfactory. It was too open-ended, with too much left unresolved. And so, like, it's a dangerous line when it comes to relationships, where people either say that the relationship is paramount to the ending, or where they're all like, hey, you know what, I didn't have them get together, look at that, I subverted your expectations, love my ending. And it's
That's
just like,
not how it
no,
works.
just because you subverted my expectations in the romance department doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good ending.
Yeah.
Right.
The ending needs to be its own thing. Romance is just the spice.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, I've seen stories, in fact, my favorite book kind of does that, where, like, the very end of the book, very end of the series, it ends with some sort of romance, whatever. And I'm talking about the Bulgarian, which is my favorite book series. it at the very last scene, it alludes to the two main love interests having sex, but then you realize after you read the next connected series, oh, it's just preparing for everything that's going to happen there kind of idea, because they end up having a son, and the son ends up involved with a lot of the stuff in the second series. So it's kind of just a connection between the two. But I've seen a lot of cases where, oh, there's a wedding, or they're like off on a honeymoon, or you get the idea, and that's the end of the show, and it really has no purpose in the overall story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, shipping the ship setting sail is not the end game, just part of it.
6.
7?
6.
Oh, 6.
We're on to 6.
Yes.
There is a lot to a romance. There's a lot involved with it.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just, oh, these two characters should be together because they need to be together. Like,
Because they're both hot.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
honestly the example I put here, I'm actually going to read the kind of description I put here, because I think the example kind of perfectly breaks down like what we mean here. But it's like there's so many complicated things in a relationship, and you can do so much unique stuff with it. And so here's the example that I have is that, you know, you could have a rift growing between these characters leading to them breaking up, which leads to them figuring out how much they care for each other, proving that to the reader and to the characters that they are great together, you know? And it's like, there's so much more than just, oh my gosh, we deserve to be together because we do, you know? It's like, there's so many little nuances to romance. Like, it's such a multifaceted tool, and we should be exploiting that, not relying on the trope.
Mm-hmm. And I have an example to put to this where really romance, like once you begin really using it, romance is, as I said, like it's kind of like that flavor. It's a tool meant to help these characters move along. And a really good example of this is actually in the most recent season of the Dragon Prince. Spoiler alert once again, I guess, where Callum and Rayla get together. They get together right in the middle of the season, and it was a huge shock, and everyone's just like, yay, OTP together. And there's that sense of like, well, now what's this going to do? So they're together, they're holding hands now in the other half of the season, they share some extra kisses. So a big deal. But the thing though is that them getting together and motivates Callum to kind of push the boundaries of certain things, and especially when it comes to magic, and it leads to him then discovering a dark secret that Rayla believed that her parents are traitors to the kingdom and everything, and that they had deserted their post, and that's why this great war between humans and elves and dragons is happening. But it turns out that because Callum wants to help her out, due to their relationship, he's able to discover the truth behind the secret, and it is that her parents sacrificed themselves, and that is why they went missing. They weren't cowards. In fact, everyone else was cowards, and to save their backs, they lied about what happened to Rayla's parents. And so, like, that is a moment where, could that have happened without them being in a relationship? Probably, but it's way more impactful because of their relationship.
Yeah.
And like, it made it so good because, like, at that moment, you're like, this proves why they are good together, because Callum is that strength to Rayla when Rayla needs it, and vice versa. We see that throughout the rest of the season. And so that was phenomenal. That was actual romance, sacrificing yourself to build up your partner.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it.
Yes.
I'm going the wrong way.
Yes, rule 7. All right. Make your characters equals. This is... Yes, go ahead.
I would say this one is going to bring up open up a lot of ranting.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
This
brother.
one's one of my like personal pet peeves with any story. 2 examples that I can think of right off the top of my head. This last weekend I was watching like a TV Disney movie where the guy was a complete jerk.
Do you
And
remember the movie?
it's called like Cloud 9 or something. It had to do with like snowboarding. It's a newer movie.
Oh, okay.
And then the other one I can think of is actually that, and I didn't even read it. I just like heard about it from you guys, that One Direction sex slave.
Oh, no.
And I'm just thinking, like, when you said that, I'm like, what about you as a person would ever make you think you're good enough to even be the slave to like these other people?
Yeah.
Kind of idea. you have to make people equal in some fashion, but it can be in different things. People can have weaknesses and still be together in a relationship, but they have to balance each other out. They have to be equals in some sort of fashion in order for it to work. If the guy's, and I hate seeing this at all, if the guy's an utter slob, why would the girl want to be with him? And if the girl's an utter airhead, blonde, bimbo, whatever, why would the guy want to be with her?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't like stories that go into that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So who wants to unleash next?
I want to hear Camille.
Yes.
Okay, this actually ties into rule number 4, I think, in terms of like treating your ships equally, just in terms of like a toxic relationship, because I feel like I feel like some type of ships get a pass for being more toxic than others. For example, I feel like if you see whether it's in fan fiction or just a web comic or whatever, typically I feel like it's more common to see like a gay relationship is it's more toxic than it should be, because I've had this conversation with someone who is gay who does not like, who hates this type of thing, because it shows like you usually have one character holding power over the other character, almost like coercing them to like be in a relationship with them, because they sense like, oh, you're attracted to me, I'm going to exploit that type of thing.
Yeah.
Oof, and I that pisses me off. And I think this could be a rant on its own, because there are so many different types of toxic relationships. That's just one example of them. Oftentimes you'll see in romance, your stereotypical romance, your toxic relationship will be the brooding bad guy. He's so mysterious, and for some reason he gets off Scotch tape for being an absolute asshole to the female character because what? Because he's hot? Like, but people allow it. Exactly. Yeah. And people are like,
I hate that so much.
Yeah, and people
or even
be like,
vice
oh
versa,
gosh.
when like the
right,
girl is
like, she's the asshole, but it's like, oh well, she's so hot, blah blah blah. It's like, no, you don't, because if you strip away what they look like, or if they're a vampire, I'm looking at you, Twilight. If you strip away the things that make them special, i.e. usually like their physical appearance or whatever, it's very toxic. And I hate when relationships like that are just masked as like something that's good and that's okay. And I also feel like another like underlying one that I see that I really hate is like the guy's usually really dumb, and the girl's like, why do I put up with this? You're so dumb. And they'll like belittle the male character who's supposed to be like the person that they love and whatever, but they'll belittle them, type of thing. I kind of feel like Hermione and Ron kind of fall into that. Ooh, there's your tea, a little spicy tea for today. But yes, a toxic relationship, and we mentioned this in our thing, a toxic relationship, if used correctly, can be dramatic and can be good writing. Not saying that it is a good relationship. If you're using a toxic relationship as like a way for a character to grow in terms of, wow, that self-realization, like, my boo is an ass.
I'm worth more than this.
I'm worth more than this, and bye, Felicia. Then that's great, because then you're using that as a platform for your character to be like, this shit isn't okay. That can work. But do not come at me making your characters in a toxic relationship and being like, it's fine, it's cool, because that's not how good relationships work. They work, as he said, it's built on trust and being able to treat each other equally. So I think that one is like, take some time to reflect on your characters and see what are their strengths and weaknesses individually, and how do they make the other, like, how do they build up the other character. And if you can't answer that second question, maybe you should not be such a big stupid idiot and make better characters. I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
I mean, I could definitely rant about this too, but I feel like between the two of you, you covered pretty much anything I had to rant about. So
yeah.
mean, I'm going to throw in one quick example.
Okay,
and
one quickie.
I'll be done. Yeah.
Just
So my
quick.
one quick is this. So there's actually a web comic that I caught up with called "The Monster Under the Bed," and the main ship within the story, the two main characters, is super good in the first half, and it weakens in the second half. And the reason why it's so good in the first half is because the characters are equals in the sense of how they interact with each other. One knows more about the world underneath the bed than the other one does. One knows more about the world outside of the bed than the other one does, and they share that together. And the play and how they play off of each other is just so cute and really, really enjoyable. By the time you get to the second half, after they've had this moment of sharing these things and they understand each other a whole lot better, the dynamic becomes very unequal. And then it becomes harder to justify why these two should be together.
Right.
And so yeah, equality, even if like that doesn't mean that they have to be on the same level. The definitely give and take is a whole lot better, but that equality or finding that equilibrium, if you're starting off with a toxic relationship and you're trying to redeem it, that finding that equilibrium is essential to making a good couple work.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's
They don't have to be the same in every single way. They just have to complete each other.
yeah,
Exactly.
they
And
have
respect
to-
each other.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was gonna say. They have to respect each other equally, or like they have to have mutual respect on the same level as each other.
Otherwise, miss me with that toxic bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold on, my computer went to sleep, and now it's my screen is black.
No.
Oh wait, no, we're good. I'm really struggling tonight. Oh yeah. Okay. Rule number 9.
No, rule number
No,
8.
we're on 8.
Oh damn! Relationships do not exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I think that's exactly what it sounds like. You know, like if you don't have a plot outside of just two character get together, then why are you even writing this?
Right.
You know, like there needs to be substance behind the romance, otherwise it's not worth writing.
And you need to put some thought into it, into the actual plot and like what's going on, how the characters interact with all the other characters around them. If you don't, you're going to end up with stuff like a Hallmark movie where the entire reasoning for the plot is just to get the two characters together. That's it.
Yes, which I
that's
both
so
love and
frustrating.
hate.
Well, and
I love how dumb Hallmark
I
movies
love
are.
them.
Exactly.
I love them so much.
They're wholesome dumbness. What I was going to say is this. Another thing, as far as relationships do not exist in a vacuum, how does the rest of the cast in the world react to the relationship? I think one of the things that anyone within a relationship knows about is how family and friends and coworkers, if they all know about it, they all want to drop their 2 cents to $1 on whatever is happening. And one of the most rewarding things in a story sometimes is seeing how the rest of the cast reacts actually to a relationship. It's one of the things I like about A Wheel of Time, how the different characters react to the relationships that are forming around them.
Right.
It feels so much more realistic.
Oh, for sure, because everyone has their 2 cents on the matter. And I feel like it just gives more meat to your story and your secondary characters to like give them, that opinion. That child just came out of nowhere in that bush. What the hell, the bush child? Here's
waiting in the bushes of love.
Here's something that I often ask myself when I am working on a plot. Obviously, I love shipping my characters and whatnot. Who doesn't? But I always ask myself, individually. It's like, yeah, I know that they're getting together. That's not where my focus is. Really, I always ask myself in a story I'm working on right now, it's like, okay, well, for my character Kaida, what growth does she need to have? Where is she at now? And what is she trying to, what does she need to accomplish between point A and point B being the end of the story? And for that, my answer is she's finding out who she is, what happened to her parents, and who she is, what she is, and what happened to her parents. That sort of thing. All of which, all of those answers don't have to do anything with romance. Granted, along the way, she falls in love with someone who helps her, but her falling in love doesn't necessarily answer those questions. It's like love isn't the answer to those questions. She still has to have that her own personal character growth, and having a romance on top of that is just a little nice zesty garnish.
Yeah.
That's the word.
I think the most concise way that I could summarize it is that a romance or just shipping in general is a plot device, but not an actual plot.
Yeah.
It's a way
yeah.
to push the story forward, but like you still
Right.
need like something happening under the. You okay there?
Maybe.
Was that your elbow?
Yes.
Oh, poor elbow. um, you still need something like underneath the surface, like driving the characters' decisions, like figuring out like having the characters react and be proactive to, you know. And so
Right.
without any of that, then your romance will go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It has no room to grow without it. Because
Then
you
it
know a
just
plant
becomes-
It's very small.
Just
plants
fine.
can't
Big
grow
man, maybe.
in a vacuum, which is I'm pretty sure not true, but we're gonna say that here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Am I going the right way?
Here we are. The rule we've all been waiting for. Rule number
Yes.
9. There's gonna be a bit of ranting on this one. Shipping is
Bring
not
it.
all shipping.
Smut.
Shipping. Gosh dang it! Let me get through this. Shipping is not all about the smut. Damn it, Camille! I was so close.
I mean, it was already spoiled, so what'd it do?
That's fair.
It needs to be more than just galloping abs and bouncing globes for it to be interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
and what you mentioned earlier, Camille, is exactly
Hey.
what Rule 9 is all about.
Yeah.
It's like if you're just in a relationship for the sexy sex times,
Sex
then like
Fun times.
you're gonna
Oh,
get so tired of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I am not against having sexy fun times in stories. I have
Not at
plenty
all.
of sexy fun times in my more mature stories. But yeah, but that's not what
We are
the
children
story
here.
is. Yeah, that's not what the story is about. You know,
Yeah.
like with my previous example, it's like hell yeah, they have sex, brother, because they're
Yeah.
both consenting adults. But it's like it's more than just that.
Yeah, like that could be, if written well, it could be a great like milestone or great stepping stone towards something greater. But
And
if-
it is.
Yeah, and it is. But it's like in a story like that's just there to get you wet and bothered. Like no, like give us substance behind it. If you're going to be including that kind of stuff, there needs to be substance behind it.
Right.
Like you know, just like with any aspect, even if it's just like, you know, a small little kiss, you know, or whatever, like between characters, like if you just had two characters like walk up on the street, like don't know each other and kiss, you'll be like, why did you put this in the book? And so
Right.
it's like,
Mhm.
it's not just about, you know, the galloping abs
The
and
hanky.
the
Bouncing globes.
the bouncing pillows of
Interesting melons.
and the raging member. Oh, let's not get talking about
Gorge.
verbiages,
Oh
smut
my
verbiage,
gosh.
because it's
You
so
know-
dumb. But
Yeah, and this right here, this is one of the reasons why making it all about the smut and steaming your rice is not the best way to go. because it's like seriously, the stuff that we've read for terrible fanfics, terrible fanfics like the pulsing member, the raging hormones, all this stuff. It's awkward.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It dumbs down the intelligence of your story. If it doesn't sound like it's mature, then people will not treat it as such. And I've said this many times after having read the stuff from A Game of Thrones, from The Song of Fire and Ice. I can hear George R.R. Martin giggling as I read those scenes.
Gross.
Like, they are so over the top dumb that I'm just like, why is this even in here? You put it in here because you expect that your audience is a bunch of seventh graders. It's degrading. It's degrading to the characters. It's degrading as a reader. And honestly, and I've heard some people say like, well, it's intelligent. He's making sexplanations. And I'm like, if you need to make your world building spicy by having two people do the mattress mumbo, then your world building sucks. That is the honest truth of it. If I am not pulled in, unless two characters are getting it on, that means that your story is bad.
Right.
I still love how when I used to work at Barnes & Noble, one of my managers kind of pulled one or two of us aside and was like, okay, if somebody asks for a romance book, pull something from the fiction section, not the romance section. Because if you want something that's actually good, yeah, go to the fiction section. There's actually going to be a good plot in this. There's actually going to be pretty well written.
Right.
You go to the romance section, it's just for that
Getting your
shits and
googlies
giggles,
off.
sexy fun times.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
I've always thought, from the vast number of bad fanfic we've read, and even where I'm like, okay, this isn't awful, but obviously it is just smut. There's a difference between like with something that's just smut. Maybe that is all people want. It's just that instant gratification. You know what I mean? Where it's like, that's what people want. Okay, that's fine, but don't try and pass it off as this is an actual story and novel that I want people to really connect to. No, that's bullshit. It's just erotica. So just say what it is. If it's a duck, it's a duck. Don't tell me it's a chicken when it's obviously a duck. Because it's like, if you want that, right, and if you want that instant gratification, then fine. There are people who want that. But there are also people who want more substance. Have substance to your sex.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
And
that's the point, right? There.
hell yeah. Also, sorry, I want a little footnote.
my earballs.
Yeah, I got it really close. I've been sitting like a foot away from the mic, but I got riled up.
You got real
riled up. Yeah,
hot and ready.
that's the thing. That's the thing. Like the whole steam the rice moment right here should actually mean something. Don't just have your characters afterwards take the walk of shame unless your characters are meant to take the walk of shame. Right. I have lived on college campuses. I've seen what that looks like, and it's always depressing afterwards.
Right.
Don't do that to your characters unless it's plot relevant. Otherwise, it's smuts for smut's sake, and that is always terrible.
Right. Yeah. And I do feel like there is a happy medium, because with like, I'm trying to phrase this in a way. You also want to show like the more like realism to like maturity and realism to a relationship. Where it's like they hold hands, they smooch, sex is a part of their lives, like that sort of thing. There's a happy balance that you can find. Maybe I say this just because I've written more mature things in my other books that won't be for children, where it's like they are adults and like that's part of it, but it's also like, I don't know, it still has substance to it. That's not just like, we're gonna have 3 chapters of sex, baby. Strap in and oil up.
Yeah, no.
Keep that mattress nice and oily.
You have to toss out.
I regret saying that.
Another one?
Now that we're feeling a little greasy, let's top this off with our last and final and arguably the most important rule. Let's finish this. Let's climax here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're at the climax. Let's finish it up. Thank you everyone for coming this evening.
Wait.
To our podcast.
Thank you for coming tonight. Do you want to explain to us what rule number 10 is, Scoop?
Okay. Please, for everybody involved, respect other people's ships.
Hallelujah.
I can't tell you how many times.
The fourth rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't tell you how many times like I've had conversations with people either in person or online where they're like, where I'm talking about like, oh, I really want to see these 2 characters get together, and then like, they start bashing on that decision, and then, without even giving me a chance to explain myself or anything like that, and then they tell me who they want to get together, and I'm just like, what the hell?
And
you're
I'm
making fun of me?
It?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, you're making fun of my choices? It's like,
First of all, you're trash.
Yeah,
you're tacky and I hate you.
Just let people enjoy themselves. Like,
right.
Granted, all of these rules here are how to write a good romance, how to write a good ship. If you don't want to write a good ship, if you just want to do the steamy sex slamming, do it. But don't expect any love from us. Expect us to read it with all confidence that we're going to get a good laugh out of it.
Right.
Exactly.
And we will make fun of you.
I mean, at this point, you're getting into like the fact that everybody has the right to their own opinion.
Yeah.
Basically. Oops, I'm stepping on your cord.
That's okay.
And so you're able to have that opinion. You're able to figure out, oh, I really like this ship. I don't like this ship. But you can also have a good conversation. I mean, it can get to an argument, but it doesn't have to get violent over it with somebody else about those ships. I mean, you can respect that other people actually enjoy the idea of that ship.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's like, I don't have a problem with people shipping whoever they want unless they're like shipping something really sketchy.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, maybe don't ship that character with a literal child. You know, I think there are some boundaries,
some warning
I guess.
signs.
Yeah, there's some definite red flags out there.
Right, but I feel like,
especially if it's something illegal.
yes.
Like the freaking One Direction sex slave. That is a highly illegal practice there, sir. Maybe you shouldn't, or ma'am, maybe you shouldn't be writing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Shit like that makes me want to be like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to see that shit on Wattpad.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is the reason why having the word respect in this rule is so important. There is a real difference between telling someone, hey, that is messed up, I don't like that, please don't talk to me about that, and then riffing into this person and condemning them for the slime that they are. Yeah. And granted, there are times where you have to stand your ground and call it like it is. I'm not saying that those moments will never come up, because they definitely do, but you need to, at the same time, you need to be respectful towards these people, because you don't know what you might end up unleashing by disrespecting someone else and their ship. If it's a messed up one, if it's one of those things where it's just like, that is wrong on many levels, such as like slavery or child endangerment, stuff like that's where you're just like, I don't want to hear about it. Please don't tell me about that. You might want to rethink some things yourself, and that is being respectful. You're not telling the person just how disgusting they are. The moment that you condescend to that, they are going to unleash on you. You're not going to feel good about it. You won't have won anyone over to your side. In fact, you might have actually just encouraged that person's behavior. Yeah. Respect is key.
Yeah. And it's like going back to the whole like One Direction sex slave thing. If you want to write a self-insert romance between you and Harry Styles, or no, he's not One Direction. Is One Direction still together anymore?
Yeah, it's Harry.
No, they're not. But Harry Styles
separate directions. One Direction is separate directions now.
Separate. They're in different directions. Regardless, but like,
kill the separatists.
If you want to write a romance between you and Harry Styles, that's fine. Just don't make it illegal, please. Yeah.
And self-insert specifically is just an opinion of mine on those. You don't have to share it with people. You can write it for the fun of writing it, but
keep your dirty, gross sex fantasy to yourself. You
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have to admit, though, as we're saying this, that 50 Shades of Grey is a thing.
Really?
And it's despicable how much money that series has made, and there are still people. Well, I know people who still to this day talk about how fantastic of a read it is, and I'm just like, I read 2 pages of that, and it was
have you lost
garbage.
Your mind? Because I'll help you find it.
But the thing is this: I'm left with the decision. Should I treat these people like the garbage that they like, or should I treat these people like actual people? Once again, coming back to the whole respect thing.
The answer you should avoid the romance section, because that's why you avoid.
That's why you avoid the romance section. But like we're kind of like in the deep end right here. When it comes to just regular ships and whatnot, the stuff that's not bordering on inhumane material. Just a random example. I'm painting a target on my back here. I don't like Bumblebee from Ruby. That is, to me, an annoying ship. And I think it runs counter to a lot of the stuff that I personally see in both Yang and Blake's characters. However, it's one of the most popular ships, at least on Reddit. And you know what? Like, I know Bumblebee shippers on out there. They're, for the most part, they're great people. And so treat them with respect, and if it becomes canon, then it becomes canon. Respect the canon. So what? I will have my ship. You guys can have yours. Don't stuff it down. Just don't stuff it down my throat.
Yeah, right. And let me counter that for you, Lars, real quick, because I feel like that ship, Bumblebee ship, is like a perfect example of this here rule set. Like, I feel like I have seen enough like ship stuff for Bumblebee that I understand the ship. I can respect that ship. Like it makes
Right.
sense to me in the fandom, in the fanon.
But
in the
like
fanon.
it's
that-
always the shippers that ruin things.
Yeah, like in
Shippers are the
fanon.
most toxic part of a fandom. There, I said it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Shipping is the most toxic part of a fandom. But like in this case, like Bumblebee, like in fanon, like it makes good sense. And yes, it's a fun ship. It's not my personal ship, but it's a fun one, so I can respect it. But in actual Ruby canon, that ship has a lot of flaws.
So many.
I probably just
so many
upset a
flaws.
lot of people, but that's besides the point. Like I can enjoy that ship, even though because people have proven to me that ship would work.
Right.
Yeah, it would work.
Outside of canon, it would work very well outside of canon. But once you put it inside of canon, we start to run into issues with these rules here.
And the fan art's pretty nice, I will say. They've got great fan art.
There's great fan art. Like I can enjoy it. I think that should do us. This is kind of a long episode here.
It's a lot. It's a long one, but this is stuff that needs to be said because and like if you've made it to this point, in the episode, thank you very much because
Congrats.
this all needs to be said. We need to get this out to the world. But here's something like I had a conversation with my students since I teach full time, and I was telling them that this was something that we were going to do here at Camille's Harem. And the moment that I brought it up, oh my gosh, even the people who aren't big into fantasy or they don't really have a show or something that they follow, people know about this stuff. And it's something that actually blocks people from enjoying something. They're like, man, it looks really fun. But those shippers, and they just, and like I've seen people legitimately get scared talking about shipping. That is wrong. So this is why we needed to have our time talking about all this, because we need to address what makes a good ship, how we can correct our shipping mentality in hopes that, hopefully this does change some people in the long run, because we need a healthier space within the shipping part of each fan base.
Yeah.
Right. People shouldn't be afraid to... I shouldn't be afraid to say that I still ship Shiro and Allura. Why do I say their names
such a
so
wholesome
weird? You know
ship.
what I mean? Yeah, exactly. But it's like most of the discourse on places like Tumblr or Twitter, it's like you can't say that, or I can't say, I actually don't really like Heath and Lance. I think they're kind of a toxic ship.
Yes.
You can't say that. It's like people should be able to express their opinions without a whole full-on shipping war breaking out.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of rehashing things, but like definitely a lot of the Voltron ships, unfortunately, are ones that goes against a lot of the rules that we have here, especially quality. A lot of like the Clance shipping stuff is one dominating the other. Sorry, that's just not
bad
good.
writing.
Tea, sis.
It's bad writing, fam. Anyway, Camille, do you want to take us home?
Country roads to the
Mount
place.
your mama.
I belong.
West
Yeah, hold
Virginia. Mount your mama.
Mama, take me home.
I'm kind of going the right direction. Hell yeah, brother. Yes. If you would like to, I'm in the woods and I'm trying to. Spooky boys, run from the spooky boys.
This could all be happening in real life. She's not playing a game.
I'm not playing The Witcher right now, actually. Little did you. Ooh, I found it. Okay. Anyway. If you would like to listen to more of our podcast episodes, you can go to places where you can listen to podcast episodes. If you're not an idiot, you know where those are. You can check on places like Podbean and Google Play and iTunes and figure it out. Also, we are on YouTube where we have other videos, and we will have kind of a second part-ish to this shipping conversation up on YouTube soon. We're also on Twitter, and not really Tumblr because Tumblr sucks and it's gross. And I really think that is it. I have to go kill some deserters. Have a good evening, and as always, bye, Mom. Did I win? I just got shot!